Hello, everyone. Uh, my name is Sunish, and I work with Ashoka. Very warm welcome to BYLC uh, South Asia Youth Resilience Summit. Warm welcome. Thank you for joining. And this is a public panel and a very interactive at that. Um, those who are new to BYLC, it stands for Bangladesh Youth Leadership Center. It's Bangladesh's premier leadership training institute. They run leadership programs for youth and help young people with job opportunities and also launching their businesses through BYLC Ventures, which is an accelerator based in Dhaka. The South Asia Youth Resilience Summit is a part of BYLC's effort to help youth in the region to navigate through the current crisis, COVID-19. And today is the final day of the summit. So thanks for joining. And I work with Ashoka. As I said, Ashoka believes that it's a world and the future is where every young person is contributing to change and has the skills of change making. And that's the very reason I'm here playing this role. So to kick off, kick off, I live in Bangalore in India, and what I would request everyone who's joining to do is to please type where are you joining from, so that we know where all participants are coming from, just for our knowledge. Um, we have two awesome personalities today in this panel, both incredibly successful in driving social change through their work for many years. And just to start introducing, let me welcome Ashoka Fellow Anshu Gupta. He's also a Max Essay Award winner. He's founder of a very well-known organization called Gunj, based in India. The second panelist is Ashoka Fellow Runa Khan. She's also a Rolex awardee. She's the founder of Friendship NGO Global, based out of Bangladesh. So warm welcome to both of you. And may I request Runa and Anshu to just take a quick 30 seconds to introduce each of you, please. We can start with Runa.
Thank you very much. I'm very happy to be on the panel with Anshu and with BYLC today. And so I started Friendship, which is a social purpose organization in 2002. And we work for four main goals. It is saving lives, poverty alleviation, climate adaptation, and empowerment. And we work through, six sectors, which is in health, education, all fit health, education, legal aids, and legal aid, but it all fits into the goal of these four goals. And in today's world, this is we are striving towards a vision where we can bring equal opportunity, dignity, and hope to the people that we are serving. And we work in the most remote, most vulnerable communities of Bangladesh, the riverine areas and the coastal belt. Started off with the first mobile floating hospital in Bangladesh.
Hi, good evening. We run this institution called Gunj. It's now almost a pan-India organization, working in about 25 states and union territories. And the whole idea was that how do we really dignify giving, and how do we start treating the second-hand goods, which otherwise has always been treated as a charity, fine, all across the globe, whether it's about your clothes, utensil, footwear, whatever material. Can we really turn it around in an economic model where we make everyone a stakeholder? People in the villages actually do their job. They make roads, they dig well, they clean ponds. And after the hardcore water, sanitation, infrastructure work, they are actually rewarded in kind. So that's like a revival of the barter economy with two new currencies, which is the community labor and community wisdom, and the city material, which is an underutilized material. So now it has grown, and because of this large scale network and grid in the city and village, the role in the disaster really goes up. So for the last few years, we are also very actively engaged in responding to the disasters. More in the session later.
Thank you, both of you. And as I see, there are about over 250 people online now. So huge shout out to everyone. Before we begin, just one request. You may have questions as we go. So my request would be to please type your questions and send it. And I'm sure there'll be many questions. So I'm going to pick up as many as possible through this conversation. But I also have to kickstart. I'll ask a question, and please feel free to write. And as I see, there are 300 people now, which is great. So just to start, and I request both of you to reflect on this to start with. And from the young people's perspective, I think before 2 months back, we were going through an unprecedented crisis already. I mean, jobs are low, high unemployment, opportunities to do meaningful work has been low. Young people have been going through anxiety, as we all know, and then COVID happens. And my question is, from your perspective, both of you work on the ground with large communities. Can you start with reflecting what's in store? Where are we heading? What does it look like for the young people? Anshu?
So to start with, tough time for sure, because I think this is first in our lifetime. This is the first pan-globe disaster. Okay, across the globe, one single disaster. This is one, because in any case, all this environment hazard and all climate change, we never consider disaster, most of us, unfortunately. But this is like one across the globe disaster. This is a disaster which has absolutely affected every single person in some way or the other. Normally, if you see, the disaster used to happen when it happens in a particular geography and the entire world was available to serve that geography. But this is completely different. Also, the unfortunate part is that this is still unfolding. Fine, it started with a virus, and it got into some kind of reverse migration and joblessness, and then bad economy and all that. So that's a bad scenario. We all know that, and obviously we all need to face it. But I also, to be honest, I see this this also as an opportunity in the time to come, because at the end of the day, we have to really see the positive out of it. That what do we really get? Because we have to go on at the end of the day. Fine. I mean, howsoever depressing it is, howsoever complicated it is, but we have to find out our ways out, because we have to live, and we want other the human beings to live. So this is an opportunity for the people where they see. I know, like, a lot of people who have just through the campus recruitments and all. Just a simple example, through campus recruitments and all, they even got the appointment letter. They would have gone in the new jobs in the month of June, July, or something like in India, and then we see that most of these letters are withdrawn, and people are, because even the companies are not sure, right? So we don't know, but I think this is also a chance with the youth, with the people of this world, to relook at the life, right? To really, we have got enough time to really sit with ourselves and find out that what else can we do? How do we live our life? How do we dignify giving? How do we value fellow human being? I think that's the most important lesson all of us need to learn, because it's a 300 odd people who can afford to listen or become a part of this conversation through a web. I mean, all these 300 people, all of us are extremely, extremely privileged people. In comparison to those millions of people where the next say meal is not confirmed. And very important for all of us to understand that the houses in which we are there, the offices which we are there, wherever we are, those are created by the people who are homeless. The rice and the food which we are eating is actually grown by the people, supplied by the people who do not have food. So we, the people of this world, really need to understand those privileges to that core, that deep. So this is an opportunity for the youngsters who are just starting their career and all that. Instead of worrying about their own career, they can be a part of the rebuilding process of the humanity, of the thought process, the way we should operate, the way we should value people. I mean, that's what I see, and I look forward, because I handle a team or hundreds of those volunteers. Large number of them are below 30, fine, large number of them, and they're going through a tough phase, especially wherever there are issues of religion, there are issues of caste and community, a lot of other issues. They're going through a tough phase, okay, emotionally, mentally, everywhere. The McDonald's are not open, the KFCs are not open, so there are a lot of issues. But I can see that this last point, when I see these hundreds and thousands of people, despite knowing the risk, when I see them on the roads, cooking food, reaching out material, standing with people, despite knowing every single risk, with all the precaution, I see a huge amount of hope. And in India, we have seen, in the globally also, but in India, we have seen that how the youngsters have really come out to stand with the people.
Thank you, Anshu. Runa, how do you see the landscape changing? Do you see things have really changed in the last month and a half for the young people, and how do you see it going forward?
We are working in areas which are not in any town or cities. We work in the most unreachable areas, and with beneficiaries or communities in hundreds of thousands, at least 500, 600,000 people a month. And out of which, given the population of Bangladesh, 50% nearly is, our youth and children. And we have, I think the most important and amazing thing that we have witnessed is amongst even our staff, we have about 60% are below 35, and they are young. And we have not had one dropout. Well, one doctor got stuck, but at home but not one person said they would not work. And for me, this was something which was like when I'm seeing in towns and cities, people are saying that people are not coming, are not participating in work. And it's not only the work which they are doing from the house, but it's and also in the field. They are part of a community. We have to ensure that they are safe. So, we are making masks, we're distributing masks, we're doing a lot of awareness programs, and we're working with the government for even collection for testing, etc. All our health centers are working. All that is there. But the strength of the youth is always what amazes me. And even today, like, for example, so the youth, are divided into those who are privileged and those who are not privileged. So the privileged, for them, they can be on Skype, they can be on social media. They have such an opportunity of learning, and because there is this other side, the other side who have to go out, have to arrange for their food, or they are starving. I heard today of a girl who committed suicide because she was so hungry. I mean, how can one take this? It's unbearable. So there is this pandemic, and then there is this economic crisis. And the brunt is being borne by the youth. So and they are not stupid, they know that something enormous is happening. Something enormous which is going to touch every life, not only today, but for the future. And really, it is up to them, their decisions today, which is going to create the future of this planet. So they need to really make very conscious decisions of where they want to take themselves, because they are in the forefront. They are the future. It's like in the same cases as in the climate change. When we have a pandemic like this, because giving a lot of money today, spending a lot of money today, and not getting the system changes done is not going to work. And this is what I would like to take to the youth, because they are going to be the change makers. Be it actually those who are in the field, who are working in the field, be it those who are having the privilege of sitting at home and having self-isolation. So, you know, they need to also think that this is an opportunity, this is a time now when they have to reflect on their own responsibilities. Because the youth of tomorrow, because, you know, this COVID coronavirus, it's going to seesaw. It's not going to come today and go away tomorrow. I think we've all understood this by now. And they have to be able to deal with responsibility. So, and also the families, I would say the families need to also be, you know, what decisions they make today, whether they are having nervous breakdowns, they're having mental problems, or whether they're on the streets working, or whether they are sitting and wasting their time, or they are learning. I think there is a responsibility of the home, which also needs, you know, if as much as possible, and us, each one of us, because many of them don't have homes.
Right. So, right. Brilliant point. And I like the point. I like what you said about public health, almost like parallel to climate change. You know, there's time when climate change or environment was a vertical rather than the horizontal. Right? It did not cut across. Public health is now cutting across all the sectors, and I think everyone's realizing it. I'm going to pick up, there are questions coming in. I'm going to pick up a few questions just so that viewers also are able to reflect. So there's the question about specifically with a question to you, Runa, from Maliha Asan. What advice do you have for students which are serving less privileged, schools which are serving less privileged students?
Well, I think this is where friendship has been able to step in quite strongly. You know, we are working in the most, with all the migratory communities in Bangladesh, and in the worst areas where we don't have even teachers. So we have built a system of online courses, you know, of the government national curriculum for the schools. Maliha, I don't know how old you are, but for the schools now we have this online courses, and the government has taken our whole 2,000 lessons, you know, which they are putting up on the A2I with the government YouTube, and you will be able to access from grade 6 to grade 10. They will be able to access these lessons. We have made these years ago, and 95% of our students have been getting A's and A pluses over the last 5-6 years with this course within the national examination. And for those, you know, who are in university students, you have to start learning, because you have to be learning. Take online courses. There are a lot of free, lectures all over the world, you know, even from Harvard. And you can access, this is a time for you, it's an opportunity. Use it as an opportunity where you can see beyond your own teaching, but also into other schools and universities which are having alternate courses. So don't waste time. This is my my request.
Thank you, Runa, and I hope Malia got the answer. There's, you know, I was recently looking at one of the Yuval Harari's articles, and he mentioned that it will be soon. It will be dependent on how governments make decisions about, public services and public delivery, and that will become the determinant of how governments are successful or not. And I see one question on the same lines. Maybe Anshu, you would like to reflect on this. The question goes like, it's from Suhaib. Can we expect actual implementation of regional policies moving forward in South Asia, similar to European Union? What limitations do we have to implement a similar strategy?
If we really understand the depth of this disaster, and if we, again, I'm saying, repeating, value the fellow human being, and they are not just the numbers below poverty line or whatever those useless words we often use. the unskilled and all kind of stuff, then I hope that the government should be able to do this. I mean, this is the right time to really look into the entire process and understand that what went wrong. And one of the thing which is not gone right in these many countries is that we did create a large number of regulations, rules, policies, but the delivery always has been a problem. So if we can really do the better delivery, I'm pretty sure that in the future also we'll be able to handle disasters much better. And now, because as I said in the beginning that this disaster is still unfolding, so this will be followed by the poverty, starvation, or joblessness, or unrest, whole lot of things, which are hungry. When the hunger happens, it happens. So this is exactly the right time that these countries really work together within the country. Like India itself is like a continent. So how do the state governments and the central governments and other governments really work together and make sure that whatever policies, whatever regulations are coming, those are implemented on ground. I mean, that's the only way. And then it goes beyond a single country and all these countries, the way the SAARC countries and other countries really do that. I'm hopeful, but provided, I'm coming back because, my problem right now is that I'm just trying to understand that what did we learn from the earlier disasters. That's my problem. Okay, so I'm not a pessimist person. Fine, I'm really really optimistic about it. But what did we learn from those world wars? What did we learn from so many, like Union Carbide in India and many other countries, or the wars in Afghanistan and Iraq? What did we learn as human? Because human being have this huge arrogance that we are very adaptable. We adjust everywhere. So I'm saying that it's not a question of adjustment. It's a question of, to be honest, accepting the new reality, the new world, and then also really examine and find out that what went wrong. Can we now, we have got a chance, can we correct those things so that when we enter in the new world post COVID, we enter with some corrections. If we go to that fundamental, change in the framework, then we will be able to do it. If we do not do it and still think of the band-aid solution, we do not think of the system change part, then we will not do it. I mean, that's how personally, to be honest, we have seen, and we might see it again.
Thank you. And can we drag that point a little further? So I see the possibilities that you see, and also some points you made about how well it's bleak, but also there's a ray of hope. But we were living in some amount of volatility and uncertainty earlier, right? And it's just more now, right? And also, I think if you look at any of the problems that existed before, they're just a little more pronounced and more acute. Whether you look at mental health or mental well-being, it was an issue earlier. It's much more acute now, right? Do you think going forward to deal with this, young people will have to have a certain skill set, or will have to look at certain experiences that may make them more prepared for the future? And I'll come to the economic outcomes later, but generally to deal with anxieties and mental health and such like.
So Sunish, in my earlier sessions, I always used to say this, that the struggle of my father's generation was the struggle to survive, and struggle for us is not the struggle to survive, but the struggle to grow. Because our parents, and when I'm talking about the youth of 20, 30, 35, whatever age, in most of the cases, especially the people who can afford to be in this session, and many, many more, their basic life that way is secured by made by their parents or the facilities or whatever. So I'm saying that this is I think somewhere it is this is just a God-given some opportunity, that suddenly there is a completely different kind of realization. Because Google, in my life, the Google came, and then I found that with Google we have become a very, very typical selective learner, right? So when we talk about village, or when we talk about farming, the first word which we type is poor, or we type unskilled. So the Google also throws away, throws the poor or poverty or unskilled kind of information to us. So the fact remains that youth, in my opinion, was not aware of the realities of the larger world. For India, in India also, for a large number of youth, the villages were absolutely fine. People are living, or for many of them, those villages do not, despite the fact that we have 70% population, those villages never exist. For large number of people, farming is an unskilled profession. For large number of people, the worry is food, not the farmer. Fine. For large number of people, they were born in a house, especially the youth, where you have couple of people to support you. You were born in a car, right? This 1 month, 2 months, or maybe more time has actually brought all of us on our knees and have given us a larger picture of the world. I think this is, so that's why I'm just looking forward, and I'm hopeful that if we have learned, if we are exposed to the reality of this world, things will change. It will have a lot of pressure on us. It will have a lot of mental health issues because we are not used to of living like this. We are not used to of these realities that you will tell me that only one person can go on the bike. And these are not small things, fine? These are, when it goes on, when the restrictions goes on, either imposed by someone or imposed by yourself, it's not an easy time to live. So there will be a lot of implication, but I am just hoping that the younger generation, all of us, really realize and understand that there is larger world. When we meet at airport, some of us, and in Hindi, a lot of people, when we meet, the common statement, "Ki, Arey, Anshu, duniya badi choti hai. Hey, Anshu, the world is very small." And I remember I must have at least reminded 50 people at the airport and the conferences that the world is not small. It is my and your world which is small. How many people on this earth can actually afford to meet at the airport or in the conferences? And my and your world is not the world. We are a very small, tiny element of that world. Unfortunately, we think that this is our world. So this is such a golden opportunity for all of us to be exposed that where is life, how big is the world, and how can we really change and understand, and there is much more information than what Google serves you.
Brilliant point, Anshu. And I personally believe, as I see lots of conferences, etc., happening, while it may still be limited to those who have access to technology, but we are talking more than before, for example, right? And Runa, question to you. And young people today are anxious about jobs, right? What does the future hold for them? Whether they'll be able to, manage families themselves, their expenses. While the situation was not easier or better earlier, right? So it's not just gotten a little more worse. And as I read the questions, there are questions from Jamil Mahmood from Bangladesh and Anika from Bangladesh asking the same thing. What do you imagine the future of economic growth and jobs going to be? Do you want to reflect on that?
I feel that for hard work, action, people of commitment, people who are willing to put their hands in the mud and their feet in the mud, if need be, to be able to think atypically, to have innovation as a way of working. If you are in this mindset, there will be space for people. It is not going to be easy because the economy of the whole world is at stake, today. And it is not going to be easy. It's not going to be the same criteria on which you have graduated and you looked for it, and you were hoping to look for a job. A young doctor who started working, suddenly goes in to learn in a hospital and is faced with the ultimate, that a qualified doctor of 20-30 years experience is facing death. So it is not going to be the same. It's not going to be the same, not only of your learning and what you want to do, but also how you deliver that. It's, we are at a time when none of us know what is going to happen, but they will all, people are social animals. We are all social animals. We will be able, we've seen through a lot of old the famines, for example. My father has seen through it. Our generations have not seen such crisis, but they have handled it. The whole world has not changed. They have come back again, and they have fought, and the world has gone on, and they've moved on. And I think this is extremely important for the youth to know that it will not be exactly the same. It will not be easy, but they will be able to work. And independence, responsibility will become, I think, the key. If I'm going to take somebody today, that person, I have to know that person can work responsibly from home, if it's in the office. Otherwise, I cannot take that person. If in the field I give a responsibility to somebody, I have to know that person will not sit under a tree and fill in all the forms and send it to Dhaka, to be able for me to account for. That they will do their work. I think this sense of responsibility is going to be a criteria. Human quality, human values. That is the step, I think, for the future. People, there has to be more equality in this world. Those who have had it good, comfortable, they need to think that they are now in contention, will be in a race with those who were perhaps not their contestants before. Because people, there will be robots taking over jobs, perhaps, if this thing keeps seesawing and it keeps coming back again. We don't know how it's going to move. So there is, I think, a lot of responsibility of how we nurture ourselves, how we nurture our values, what is the kind of human beings we turn ourselves into. Let this be a learning. You see, for me, because we work a lot with climate change, and that's why I put this thing together. When we are seeing, as Anshu said, that people have been brought to their knees, be it powerful people, be it wealthy people, and the poor, they're all on the same equal plane. To this virus, nothing matters. And us, we see nature taking over. We see nature taking over all around us. And we have to reflect that where, do we love nature? Yes. We love the hills, the mountains, the rivers, the animals. We love human beings. The point is, what are we willing to give up to be at a more balanced, to have a more balanced and a harmonious world? And I think people and the youth need to not only now be confident in an academic degree, but in the human qualities, and they have to build that.
So Runa, are you saying what I'm hearing from you is there's going to be a new, well, not new, but more enhanced set of values that young people need to have. In Ashoka, we often talk about the future is for those who are able to relate with each other better, who are able to understand every other's perspective better. So have high levels of empathy, for example, to be able to work, right? And is that the point that you're making?
Yes, it is. You see, empathy, for me, empathy, compassion has to be working tools.
Yes.
They have to be working tools. Also, your own sense of responsibility, your own sense of integrity, because now more and more people will be left alone to do their work.
Right.
And this nurturing of human values, I think, for me, is primary.
Can I ask Anshu also to reflect to this point? I think it's very important that young people take away from this as to what skills in future are going to be important for them.
So, Sunish, I think this is a time when the world really looks into itself. Right? The most advanced nations, where we all thought that the health systems are the best, the facilities are best, infrastructure is best, have absolutely completely collapsed. Right? The not so advanced nations have also very badly collapsed because because it happened after few months or few weeks of happening in other countries. So if in our case, in many countries' case, the economy will completely collapse and there will be after effect in terms of miseries. Okay. Uh, the technology, we all used to be so this thing about technology. I mean, I'm sick and tired of people who think that by creating an app you can solve any problem on this earth, right? And or by creating roti.com you can actually provide roti. So I know that technology is very important. I know that because of technology we all are today talking, but at the end of the day just some of us are talking. Large part of the world still has nothing to do with the technology. Large part of the world which is still now basically starving or wanting, you need a physical delivery of something to these guys. Okay, so I think world really need to relook into it. What went wrong in my opinion, especially a country like India, Pakistan, Bangladesh and many other countries like this, we have never valued our traditional wisdom. We have never valued our farmers. We have never valued agriculture as a source of income. We are, even in India, we are bringing farmers in the cities to make them or convert them into plumbers, as if farming was never a skill. We are all these economists also are saying again and again that bring people from the villages and bring them to the cities. That's how the poverty can go. And my question is that there are already thousands and millions of people in the cities, and the urban poverty itself is such a huge mess all across. So when we have not been able to solve this problem, why do we want to bring more people? I mean, the fact remains that in India, even today in 4,000 rupees you can somehow survive in the village. In 10,000, 12,000 rupees you do not get dignity. I'm not even talking about, you do not get even a basic life in the cities. So this is a golden chance for this world to really relook into it, especially the youth. I am coming back to it. A, stop dreaming that all of us will get 5 lakh takas or 5 lakh rupees. Right? Stop dreaming that. I mean, I don't know why when we come out of the colleges and some good institute, we all just aim to, as if all of us will become managing directors. No, it doesn't happen. Half of us die as managers. Okay. I think have those aspirations of a fulfilling, decent doer's life instead of just talking about money. Fine. The moment your aspirations of about money goes down, aspirations about good work, nice work goes up, I am pretty sure that there will still be a lot of jobs available for a lot of people. Plus, let's go back to the villages, and if we really want to create apps, let's create some apps for the rural parts also. If we want to work on technology, let's integrate the technology more with the farm products, more with the agriculture, more with the water in rural, more with the sanitation in rural part. I mean, India 70% is still rural, and in India and many other countries, this is such a golden chance. When the distressed people who came from the villages to the cities in distress, remained there in distress, went back in distress, but now they're there. Hold them there, create opportunities there, go and work there. I mean, I would say that half of us who are listening to this, in the future social development sector, that way is the way out for all of us. And there are so many other sectors which will open up. So let's not just be so pessimistic about it. Let's reduce our aspirations in terms of earning and positions and all that. Let's increase our aspirations in terms of what will we achieve, whether by earning less we should be a happy person doing something, doing meaningful, and focus on the opportunities and the issues which are created by this particular disaster. I'm pretty sure many of us will find opportunities. And that's my take.
Thank you, Anshu. And there are questions raining in. Some very interesting ones. There's a question that I would like to see if one of you could reflect on, from our friend in Pakistan, Habibur Rahman, and he's asking what leadership techniques or skills could government demonstrate at this point? What is expected of the governments to demonstrate at this point?
Runa, I can speak about India, then Runa can maybe add about Bangladesh. It's very simple because
If
at least two countries we know.
Sure.
between two of us.
Briefly, we want to take more questions also.
Yeah. I think very very important part is that the governments need to look at the people with the equal lens now. I think that's the most important part. This disaster should not become the privilege for the privileged only, because that in any case has been the story, in the world. Uh, no one should die of hunger, for sure. And these are some of the things which only governments can do, and we, the voluntary sector and other people, can only fill the gaps. We cannot take the major role. This has to be done by the government, and we need to just wherever we can chip in, we can chip in. So this is a chance where where we should not talk about any kind of inequality right now, and see that the hungry person has no religion. Hungry person, the only issue is hunger, and then after that the job, for all, and also create new opportunities. And also in my country, I'm really hoping that the country will start looking at rural India in a much deeper, better, dignified way. And rural India should not be just the suppliers for urban India, and otherwise just die or suffer in hunger or whatever. I mean, that has to change, and that can be certainly done by the leadership of the nation, and we just become a part of it.
If I may add something here, that leaders today have to know that the most important thing for them is verity and trust. If people do not have trust on their leaders, and they do not have verity, and the leaders do not have verity, it's going to be extremely difficult to handle crisis after crisis after crisis like we are seeing. Bangladesh has seen. We were coming out of one of the worst floods year before last. Then we have the Rohingyas. This year we've got this virus, and now we are preparing also for the floods to come in. How much can people handle, and who is actually handling it? I must say that the Bangladesh government, very honestly, I think they have, once they've realized what's happening, they have tried to act. The thing is, the infrastructure is very weak. And because the infrastructure is weak, even they are not being able to do what they want to do. So I think the governments all over, countries like ours, need to step back, go out of the comfort zone of the cities and the towns, because majority, 80%, 70-80% of the people are people they don't see often. They're far away from the mainstream, far away from their areas. The decisions, like systems which they make, are for people whom they can see, the towns, the villages, or cities which they can see. But remote areas, millions and millions and millions of people are there. And how are they surviving? They are really, of course, they get some help, some links. And I must say that I think a lot of things have been tried over the years, and I think a lot of reach has expanded. But even then, it's just so enormous, and people can do it, because it's amazing how resilient, how courageous the people whom we think cannot do actually do. And when we think they don't know, that they know. They understand and they see through everything. And I think our leaders have to understand that unless they have verity, it's going to be very difficult to deal with the world of tomorrow, which is coming.
Thank you, Runa. So the number of questions that I'm seeing are about the current situation, and I know this may not be important for longer term, but definitely very important as of now. Questions regarding, for instance, how do we manage in a situation which prohibits movement, right? Mobility, especially looking after our livelihoods. So those who are out of work, how do they manage? Are there ideas there? There's a question about how do we take care of senior citizens, because they're obviously more susceptible to infection. So there's a question from our friend Minazul Amin from Bangladesh. I believe it's difficult for us to bridge the gap with senior citizens, especially when they go out to carry their responsibilities. So how can we stop senior citizens to go out and slow the spread? So these are, I think that it's important that if you have seen something working on the ground, or if you've seen how communities are managing some of these, and if you may want to share like 2 ideas from each of your work, I think it will be good.
From Sunish, should I start?
Right. Yeah. And let's I'm just conscious that we keep it brief.
Yes. I think for me, extremely important is that everybody does their part. Seeing what are we going to do for everybody, we do for nobody. Let's forget about this. It happens too often. So we need to do as much as we can, as well as we can. That's number 1 for me. And number 2, think of it, and I'm sure the governments are also thinking of this isolation period not as something going on and on and on, but as a time for them where they can ensure that services, etc. I hope this is so, that services, etc. are being, they can buckle up their shoes or their socks, buckle up their shoes and pull up their socks, and that this is only a temporary period, and we all need to do our individual work in this, whatever we can, whilst the government prepares for a longer solution. For me, I think this is it.
So I think this is the best chance to also literally decentralize everything. I mean, because you want to reduce the human touch, you want to reduce the burden on logistics. So even when we are trying to reach out to the communities, to the people, decentralize as much as possible, and give ownership to the people, and then they take charge of it. And many of them do not impose one particular rule, because like in our work, we have already activated our work on COVID relief and all that in 18 states of India. And there are different norms, the way the tribal population behaves, the way the HIV positive people will behave, the way the sex worker and transgenders will behave. So can we localize certain things? So there are certain non-negotiables, and then there are certain negotiables. It can't be just a one stick ruling everything. So that is one thing which we all need to understand in the time to come, that decentralization, local wisdom, local resources is the way forward for all of us, instead of just taking everything in one part and then trying to impose that. And second, Runa, just to maybe put another sentence on your sentence, is that what I've been saying, that doing good is a collective responsibility. That's one of my favorite thing. And I think this is the time when the governments, the private sector, the health sector, the citizens, the common people, the medical fraternity, the students, the young, all of us really, really have to do. I've been telling people that just map your strength and map your connects. Exploit your connects, exploit your strengths. So even if you are a good singer, fine. You are a doctor, you are a good singer. You say my medical thing I can't use because I'm not able to go. Start singing for people. I think because after some time people need that also. How do you make use of your strength? That gives you happiness. That gives happiness to someone else. I mean, that's the way forward. At least for some time. Then we will meet again and decide on something else.
Thank you. And what a brilliant point. And I think, haven't we seen some of the most creative pursuits in the last few weeks? People have come out with various campaigns of their own, created comics, created music. So very, very fair point. There are a number of questions. I'm just looking at questions that we can take in the limited time. But let me just combine it as a generic point. There are questions about, for instance, what youth can do, young people can do aside the governments, and we've seen that governments have only chased and only caught up with the problems and never been on top of it. And possibly we've hit a time where everyone needs to contribute to change, and that's the only way forward. Considering that we see everyone's role in problem solving, including obviously a very large community of young people. And also, I'm assuming that a lot of young people today will be tomorrow's bureaucrats, politicians, journalists, and change makers in general. Would you have some passing thoughts, final thoughts about what could young people do today right, as they pursue their careers, so that they could contribute to active change? I know it's a broad brushed question, but it will be good to just reflect on it. And we've talked about skills, but generally, what else can they do? Can they look at opportunities? Can they look at more creativity? What can they do today to be a change maker tomorrow?
From my side, I think there are two, three things. First, whatever they do, they have to ensure that they are safe. So this is my request to all the youths. Please, you have to be safe. That's number one, because not only are you responsible for not getting the virus, you're also responsible for not giving the virus to somebody. So, and so you have to be safe. Second, we need to, I think one of the most important thing that we have to learn from this is solidarity. Forgetting about the I, talking about the us. And so that's second. And third is trying to understand a little bit more broadly the world that they are living in, the world that we are living in, their contexts, broader contexts. How can they make a more harmonious, because that is what they have to do. So they need to understand and learn more, not only about their world, but the world all around them. So a youth in Dhaka needs to understand Dhaka, needs to understand the country, needs to understand the global picture. And this is an opportunity for them to become beyond a citizen of the country, to become a global citizen. This is an opportunity. And when soon, I hope when the world turns a bit to the new abnormal, because the new normal is going to be abnormal, when it turns to this, they find their balance in that world more easily, what they can do and what they can't do. For me, these are the three takes. I hope that.
So I think in my opinion, this is the best time to explore yourself. I think the virus has given us a chance to take a small break from our routine life. I have started writing poetry again, which I left years back. Who knows that by the time we open up, I start singing also, which I used to do in my school days, right? Many of us are the victim of a whole lot of peer pressure and compulsions. I say, suppose someone never wanted to become an engineer, but because that engineering thing was happening, the guy became engineer. Okay, or there was peer pressure, or many of us really became victim of the housing loans because our young colleagues bought a house. We also bought a house, and then we started earning for the Citibank or some other bank because we had to pay the installments instead of working on ourselves. So I think this is one opportunity for all of us to really relook into ourselves. In the last few days or weeks, we have realized that the cost of living is not that high. We can only consume this much. If we do not buy a t-shirt every 15 days, it is absolutely fine. If we do not, buy or eat outside, it is absolutely fine. So we've been able to save a lot, to be honest. So one part is that look into ourselves and find our inner strength and the aspirations or the real thing which I wanted to do in my life, get into that. Second, reduce the need of money in your life, so that the money should not be your mission, because the wealthiest people also are exactly confined in the same way, the way the financially weakest person is confined. It's a different issue that they might be having two maids, but even they do not have access to so many things which the financially weaker section does not have. And third, again, this is the best chance to know the world in a much better, deeper way, much beyond than what we learned. And if we do these three things, I'm pretty sure a little part of our life is sorted, at least for some time.
Thank you both of you, and I saw incredible learning for me. Runa, your points about having young people thinking about values, a little bit of grit and responsiveness. Anshu, we are thinking about being humble, not running after money. I think very simple but very gem of the qualities that we should inculcate in us. Before we close, so both Runa, Anshu, thank you so much. for your time and for participating in this panel. Before we close, on behalf of BYLC, I would like to invite you to join the final session of the summit in about 30 minutes. So please take a break and come back to hear from Omar Ashraq, the CEO of Medtronic and chairman of Intel. This will be in about 30 minutes. So thank you so much. And thanks to the organizers also. And we'll see you soon.
Thank you.